session is about cultivating trust and inclusivity in 6G era digital ecosystem through artistic intelligence. And with us, we have Suzanne Ria, who is the director of Nimbus Research Centre at Munster Technological University. And there she's leading strategic research program in trusted and distributed infrastructure management, cyber physical systems, secure digital transformation. And her work focuses on the design, orchestration, and governance of large-scale distributed network system. And the specific emphasis today is also on resilience, security, and trust in the evolving digital ecosystem. She's also a principal investigator in Research Ireland Connect Centre for Future Networks and Research, Advancing Centre for Doctoral Studies and Training. And she also collaborates and contributes to nationally coordinated research in advanced networking. So with this introduction, I give the stage to Suzanne. So Suzanne, the stage is all yours. We are really looking forward to hear from you. Thank you.
Great. Thanks very much, Pooja, for that introduction. And Pooja is assisting me here today with the slides because of some technical difficulties. So I'm delighted to have the opportunity to speak with you here today. And as part of this presentation, I wanted to explore a simple but increasingly important idea where trust is becoming the defining challenge of next generation digital systems. As we move towards 6G, where AI and data are deeply embedded in everyday life, we're not just building faster networks, we're building systems that make decisions, shape experiences, and influence society. So as digital technologies become more powerful, the question is no longer just about what we can build, but it's about who do these systems work for, and more importantly, who do they exclude, and how do we address that? So as next generation 6G, next slide please. As next generation 6G technologies accelerate the integration of AI and pervasive data infrastructures into society, traditional approaches to trust, rooted solely in technical assurance, are no longer sufficient. As part of our presentation today, we're going to discuss why trust matters in the context of the inTRUSTED project. And this project is just starting, so I'm going to talk about maybe our aspirations of the project as opposed to the results we have to date. But as part of inTRUSTED, we're proposing an interdisciplinary framework that will embed artistic intelligence and participatory engagement at the heart of the innovation lifecycle. So through a living lab approach, in this project, we want to explore how interpretability, understanding, embodied interaction, and cultural mediation influence societal understanding, ethical reflection, and perceptions of legitimacy in digital ecosystems. Next slide, please. So maybe before we start into the heavy detail, let's start maybe with a short story. So imagine in a near future 6G environment, you walk into a smart workspace. The network recognizes you instantly. It adapts the lighting, your workspace, your tools. Everything is personalized. It even predicts what you need before you ask. It feels seamless, intelligent, maybe almost invisible. But then something small happens. The system misinterprets your behavior. It assumes you're less experienced than you are. It routes you to simpler tasks. It filters the information you see, and then you realize that the system knows you, but it doesn't really understand you. And more importantly, it wasn't designed with you fully in mind. So now you have to ask yourself, in a world where networks don't just connect us, but they interpret us, what does trust mean? And who gets to be accurately represented in these systems? Because in 6G, trust is no longer just about connectivity. It's more about how systems perceive, classify, and include people. Next slide, please. So in this short story, and a simple scenario, if you like, what's missing? So here, trust is missing. Nothing in the system is broken, technically, but something important is missing. And that for us is trust. So because in this world, systems don't just connect us, they interpret us. And when that interpretation is wrong, invisible, or unchallengeable, people lose agency. They become misrepresented. So the question is no longer do the systems work, it's does the system understand me, and was I part of how the system was designed? That's why trust is the missing layer in this particular scenario. And this is exactly the challenge we're trying to address as part of the inTRUSTED project. Because as we move towards AI native 6G ecosystems, trust is no longer just a technical issue, it's a human, societal and inclusion challenge. Next slide, please. So thank you. No, if you go back one, sorry. It was just a bit slow on my side. Thank you. So what's opacity and what does that mean in the context of our scenario here? And why and how does trust break down? So it comes down to the problem of opacity. So these technologies are incredibly powerful, but they're also increasingly difficult to see, understand or question. So decisions are made through complex AI models fueled by data that moves across multiple systems and multiple actors. So from a user perspective or understanding, the system is like a black box. You don't know why something happened. You don't know who was responsible. And crucially, you can't correct it. So this creates real risks. Misinterpretations can go unchallenged, biases can remain hidden, and certain groups may be systematically excluded without even realizing it. And this is where trust collapses, because if people can't see or understand how a system works, they can't really trust it. So we're very good at building powerful systems. We build AI tools that can diagnose disease, support robots interacting with humans, networks that connect everything, but we're not as good as making these systems understandable, transparent, and most importantly, trustworthy. And what we're seeing is that trust is becoming a bottleneck to adoption. So if people can't trust the system, they won't use it, no matter how advanced the system is. So our challenge isn't just technical anymore, it's fundamentally human. Different groups experience technology differently. So when we talk about trust, we also have to talk about inclusion, fairness, representation, and ultimately we have to look at equity in digital systems. Next slide, please. Now, when we talk about 6G, we're not just talking about faster connectivity, we're talking about a deeply integrated digital ecosystem. And this is an ecosystem where AI will make decisions, data will be constantly flowing, networks will connect everything, humans will interact with these systems, and ultimately society will be shaped and informed by these systems. And again, the key point here is trust doesn't just sit in one part of that system, it's going to span all of it. And then trust becomes infrastructural. It will sit across AI, data, the network infrastructure, and indeed the human experience. So with 6G, we are moving towards a deeply integrated digital ecosystem where AI, data, networks, and humans are all interconnected. And these systems don't exist in isolation. They are going to be shaped by societal norms, cultural values, and existing inequalities are at risk of being reinforced. So if we design these systems without considering those dimensions, we risk amplifying inequality. And that's why we have to look at trust as more than a technical challenge. We have to look at it as a socio-technical challenge. Next slide, please. And that's exactly what we're trying to do here with inTRUSTED. So the inTRUSTED project approaches the socio-technical challenge in 6G networks by rethinking trust, not as something that must be added at the end, but as something that has to be designed from the very beginning. So at the core of our approaches is a living lab methodology, and this is where we develop technology not just in isolation, but it's going to be explored and shaped in real-world contexts with people directly involved. This means bringing together artistic intelligence, participatory engagement, and technological innovation, not as separate elements, but as a continuous collaborative process. So artistic intelligence in this context is going to help us make complex systems interpretable and relatable. Participatory engagement will ensure that diverse voices are heard, seen, and included in how technology works. And the technological innovation will be guided by ethics and societal values from the outset. So through this, we're going to move from systems that act on people to systems that are built with people, because trust just doesn't emerge from technology alone. It has to be co-created, experienced, and continuously negotiated. And that's how we begin to build 6G systems that are not just intelligent, but are also really trustworthy. So inTRUSTED is built on an interdisciplinary approach. Our team brings together technologists, social scientists, and artists across creative practices. And through this, we're going to look at living labs as an opportunity to create real world environments where people can interact with technology, reflect on it, and shape on it. Because again, if we want people to trust systems, they need to be able to see them, experience them, and question them. So I reiterate, we are shifting from systems that act on people to systems that are built with people, because trust isn't simply delivered, it has to be co-created. Next slide, please. So the inTRUSTED project is actually built on 5 interrelated projects. Perspectives for Trust embeds artistic intelligence to communicate trust in forms that are explainable and interpretable. Design for Trust embeds trust as part of technology co-creation through participatory engagement. Assurance for Trust makes trust verifiable with respect to compliance. Data Spheres for Trust ensures trustworthy data in distributed data ecosystems. And finally, Resilience for Trust maintains trust and resilience in response to systems being compromised. Next slide, please. So in 6G, success can no longer be defined by performance alone, but by societal legitimacy. This means people don't just use systems, they must believe those systems are fair, inclusive, and aligned with their values. Across AI native architectures, distributed intelligence, and hyper-connected infrastructures, decisions will happen everywhere, and these will affect everyday life. So adoption depends on transparency, participation, fairness, and accountability. So if legitimacy is missing, people will disengage, they will resist, and trust erodes. So for us, the question becomes not just can we build these systems, but it's should these systems be trusted and by whom? Next slide, please. So as part of inTRUSTED, our approach is to consider trust across 4 dimensions. So technical, does the system work? Human, do people understand it? Organizational, is it governed responsibly? And cultural, does it reflect the societal values and lived experiences of the intended end users? So most systems focus on the technical dimension and regulatory and compliance depending on your particular use case. But trust has to emerge from all 4 dimensions. And the cultural dimension is especially important because trust is going to be shaped by identity, experience, and context. So if we don't include diverse perspectives in how systems are designed and governed, we don't just risk low trust, we risk unequal trust. Next slide, please. So what do we mean when we talk about artistic intelligence? So we don't mean simply here just using art as a form of decoration. We're talking about using artistic methods as a way of understanding and shaping how people interact and experience with technology. This will include techniques like visualization, storytelling, speculative design, immersive interaction, and all of these are going to help us translate complex systems into something that people can actually see, feel, and question. So because we don't want technology just to function in the background, it has to kind of shape the human experience. And artistic intelligence is going to help us design for that experience, not just for performance. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned earlier, one of the core challenges in 6G and AI systems is opacity. Systems are powerful, but they're difficult to see and understand. And we want to take the opportunity of using artistic intelligence to help us address this, to make systems more visible. And by that, I mean to make systems more interpretable and tangible. It will allow people not just to use technology, but to actually engage with it, question it, and reflect on it. So this is critical because trust doesn't come from invisibility, it comes from understanding and involvement. Next slide, please. So in inTRUSTED, artistic intelligence will be embedded through a living lab approach. This means that technologies will be explored in real world settings. So we're going to look at real problems, and we're going to actively involve people in shaping how these technologies are designed and operated. So through co-creation and cultural mediation, we're going to bring together diverse perspectives, not just technical expertise, but lived experience. So this, we hope, will help us reveal any hidden assumptions, maybe surface biases, and make systems more inclusive. And ultimately, we hope this will change how trust is built. So trust is something that will no longer be designed just into a system from above or kind of as an afterthought. It will become something people experience, negotiate, and shape together, and it's built in from the start. So through these co-creation and participatory processes. Next slide, please. So as part of this project, as I said, we need to look at real world context, real world environments, and we're looking at a number of use cases. And the first use case that we're going to address and develop our framework and hopefully validate it is we're exploring a use case that looks at human-robot collaboration in the context of Industry 5 environments enabled by 6G networked infrastructure. So 6G will provide the underlying infrastructure for real-time intelligent interaction. But the key question again for us won't just be performance, it will be about trust. So by measuring embodied signals like stress, behavior, we want to understand how workers actually experience these systems, how they experience automation, how they experience interaction with robots as part of collaborative systems. So this connects directly to safety and agency, where people feel in control, understood, and respected. And this is where trust becomes critical, because even in the most advanced systems, these systems will fail if workers don't feel safe or they don't trust how they're being interpreted, and if they feel a loss of control. Next slide, please. So in order to do this, and I suppose to facilitate co-creation and to facilitate the embedding of artistic intelligence, we're drawing from a previous project. So as part of the Interwoven Networks project, we've developed a toolkit called DART, and this will be used in the inTRUSTED project to operationalize our approach. This toolkit has been developed through participatory co-design, bringing together engineers and artists to make complex data systems more accessible and usable. So the toolkit operates across two interconnected platforms. So we have a server-side component that provides real-time access to data streams and large data sets, while local sensing modules allow users to capture and interact with data in physical environments. So for us, I suppose what the main achievement and what was important in actually developing these toolkits was we explored how artists actually work with data and where any kind of technical barriers or challenges existed. And then we used feedback to actually inform the design of the toolkit itself. So we introduced a custom edge gateway with a user-friendly interface, shared repositories and documentation, reusable visual programming blocks, and this was developed with the Touch Designer software. And this, I suppose, was an opportunity for us to take away the technical complexity from the users and allowing them to kind of preserve their creative flexibility. And that was critical because it allowed people, and in particular those from a creative practice background, not just to access highly technical and complex digital systems, but to interpret, question, and creatively engage with them. So the DART toolkit will play a key role for us in enabling artistic intelligence within inTRUSTED. It's going to act as an engagement layer between artists and complex technological systems. It will allow artists to move beyond observation and actively interact with data, AI, and networked infrastructures. So by lowering technical barriers through our user-friendly interfaces and visual programming tools, DART will enable artists to work directly with real-time data and sensing systems. This technology makes the technology accessible, and it will allow artists explore, question, and interpret how people and themselves interact with technologies and visualize or communicate that in various forms so that people can see, feel, and understand. So in doing this, this will allow us to bring critical, cultural and reflective perspectives into the innovation process. And this is why DART is fundamental, I suppose, to us in achieving our objectives for the inTRUSTED project. It will embed artistic intelligence into the technology co-creation lifecycle. It will make our systems more interpretable, more participatory, and it will help us ground it in human experience. And again, this, because trust doesn't emerge from technology alone, it emerges when people can engage with, question and shape the systems around us. And that's exactly what DART is going to allow us to do. Next slide, please. So one of our original, I suppose, opportunities and use cases around DART was we wanted to look at drawing as a shared collaborative tool for engaging with technology. So using contemporary and augmented drawing practices, we were able to track how people perceive and experience systems, not just what systems do, but how they understood and felt it. So we asked a series of questions and we used drawing then as a tool to kind of capture that feedback. And we were, I suppose, the initial, and you see some examples here from some of the workshops, and we were using drawing as an opportunity to create a shared dialogue between technologists and artists. And we were using it as an opportunity to kind of lower barriers to participation, creating that shared language where researchers from a technological background and those from creative practices were able to look at complex ideas, discuss them, question them and reinterpret them, and look at the opportunities for creating a shared understanding through language. So in this way, I suppose, drawing for us then became more than a method. It was an interface for dialogue, and it was helping bridge the gap between disciplines. And ultimately, it's helping us embed artistic intelligence, again, by making trust something that we can see, something that we can discuss, and ultimately something that we can co-create. Next slide, please. So I suppose my motivation for being a member in WiTaR is that it very much aligns with my own personal my own personal beliefs, and I suppose, and I take those beliefs into my own work. So as part of our work in inTRUSTED and in the Interwoven Networks project, it is well aligned with WiTaR and I suppose fundamentally our broader inclusion goals as a society. It's an opportunity for us to embed diversity and participation directly into technological innovation processes. So first, through gender-aware co-creation models, we recognise that people experience technology differently, and those differences need to be actively included in how systems are designed. Secondly, inclusive research design ensures that diverse voices aren't an afterthought, but for us, they're a starting point, shaping both the questions we ask and, more importantly, the solutions we develop. And third, participation becomes a form of empowerment. So by involving people in the design and evaluation systems, we move from designing for users to designing with them, and that's really the foundation of the inTRUSTED project. And finally, this contributes to a culture of responsible innovation where ethical reflection, inclusion and societal impact are embedded throughout the entire life cycle. And together this ensures that trust is not only built, but it's built fairly across different groups and across different experiences. Next slide, please. So I'd like to return to the short story or the scenario I described at the beginning. So we talked about a world where systems recognize us, where they interpret us and they make decisions about us. And in that world, trust isn't experienced equally, because if the systems aren't designed with diverse perspectives in mind, some people will be seen clearly, others won't be seen at all. So the real question then for us as a community, it's not just can we build advanced 6G systems, but can we build systems that are inclusive, fair and representative? Because trust is not just about performance, it's about representation, agency and voice. And they're the most fundamental characteristics that have to be borne out in any technological system. And that for me, as a researcher and as part of this community here, and that's what's important to me. And that's why my work and our work together as the WiTaR community matters. So because in the future, we're building technology that will shape society, but it's up to us to ensure that it's done fairly. So trust is not just something a few people will experience, but it's something that's shared, inclusive and equitable, because ultimately if trust isn't inclusive, it's not trust at all. Next slide, please. So I'd like to acknowledge the work of my colleagues here as part of the inTRUSTED project and the Interwoven Networks project, and to thank you for the opportunity to present this work, and I suppose the opportunity to be part of this important group in shaping trustworthy technologies as we move forward. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Suzanne, for enlightening us with your work that's going in the inTRUST project, and how we share synergies with the WiTaR, and how you are trying to build the systems that are built on trust, and which just not act on people but engage people, exchange with people on building this technology. So thank you for motivating us, and also we are happy to participate and collaborate with you. I also see the WiTaR chairs, Bahare and Mary Helene. Would you like to say something?
Yes, sure. I actually wanted to just raise my hand because I have a question. But first of all, thanks a lot, Susan. I think it was actually really interesting, and you're basically highlighting really, really important facts. I mean, obviously, you make a lot of, let's say, good points that the technology should be a lot around the human being, and then the trust is important in the future world. I'm on board with all of the statements. So now, if I may ask a question here, is would be, I mean, as you said, you just started the project, so maybe you could also say that it is still a future we should find tune later, but I wanted to a little bit go practical about it, because I think this is a little bit going toward the biased, as you said, the example that you mentioned at the beginning. So the system might know us, but interpret us in a wrong way. And specifically, I'm putting these glasses of WiTaR. So let's talk about maybe the system think that woman has a limited capacity of comprehending stuff, or maybe we are weaker than a man, or there are different biases that system can wrongly take it and act on it. Is there any already a concrete way that how we can prevent this, or if this is happening, how we can actually figure this out? Is there any other way already established that we can actually look into it?
I suppose if we're talking about AI, and maybe predicting particular scenarios based on people's roles or indeed gender. And so it comes back to the data, and the data we're using to train AI models. And that's where we have to ensure that there are no hidden biases, and that it hasn't been trained on, let's say, only all male employees at a particular role, for example. So we really have to understand the data that has been used to train our models, and ensure that that data itself is representative of broad perspectives, including, different genders, different, roles, experiences, etc. So we have to look at the diversity of the training data in our underlying AI systems, and that's something that we'll be looking at. And, even for us in terms of testing, you have to validate, across a range of, we'll say, scenarios. So we talked about an Industry 5 scenario here. That's our starting point, but we'll need to look at a variety of use cases, with different people, different genders, different lived experiences, different abilities, etc. So it really comes from diversity. And if we're training models, they need to be trained on diverse data, and diversity there in its broadest context.
Yeah, exactly. And you already also going to the second point, because I think your main use case, and I could be wrong, your main use case is about industry. So
Yeah,
and that's usually, I would say, male dominated
absolutely.
industry. And that's, I understand, if we give, let's say, more diverse data to the AI, obviously AI knows about it, but it's a little bit, I think, boils down to regulation, or knowing this necessity that although it is a male dominated area, we still need to give a diverse data to it, so it's trained in a way even that minority of the women in that industry still do not get biased But I think you already, I can see that you're agreeing with me that point.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I come from an engineering background myself, and I'm sure, like many of you here, you're often, you know, the only female maybe in a room with a large number of male colleagues. And indeed, we're looking at manufacturing, and that type of statistic will be borne out there as well. And we also have to look at people with different abilities, different needs. You know, the type of, we'll say, production operators that we're looking at, would say, on the production floor. So we have to look at diversity there, and you know, all companies will have a corporate social responsibility around, you know, engaging and employing people from different backgrounds, different abilities, different genders, etc. So again, that is our opportunity now to look at, again, diversity in terms of the data we use as part of our models here.
Yeah, perfect. I give the floor to others. I still have maybe a couple more questions. Maybe I come back at the end. But thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Bahari. Thanks, Suzanne. I do not see any more hands, but maybe if you want to continue, Bahari, or maybe I want to also know, Suzanne, that has there been an intentional effort to capture the diverse data, also knowing the typical sources in your project from where, or what will be the data points in your project to capture these?
Yeah, so we haven't actually done any data collection as of yet. We're going through our internal ethics process here, Pooja. So we're not collecting any data of yet, but we will be intentional in capturing diverse data. So we are hoping to engage, I suppose, with a broad range of industry stakeholders, then to understand, you know, the challenges they have on the ground in relation to human-machine collaboration, say in terms of the production floor. And as part of that, then we will look at the opportunity for diverse data.
Great, thank you. Anyone, any other question? I think people are still thinking, maybe then we can continue. I mean, okay, you also introduced artistic intelligence. I mean, this is a new term that I am introduced in this session. So can you little bit elaborate more, and then we come back to Bahari?
Yes, that's, I suppose, that's an opportunity to look at the methods and practices from the creatives. So look at the opportunities there. Can we, so we're talking here about making trust maybe more visible or interpretable. So are there opportunities, you know, around storytelling, around different forms of visualization, you know, physicalization of data, move beyond our traditional kind of dashboards and interfaces that we would see, you know, typically on an ICT digital type of interface here? Can we do it better? Is there an opportunity for different narratives, and how we actually, what are the physical forms of these narratives then, to allow people maybe experience systems to, you know, if we think about extended reality, you know, that allows people to immerse themselves in digital ecosystems so they can feel and interpret it in, you know, 3D environments. So what are our opportunities here through artistic intelligence to allow people understand, interact, and be represented in digital ecosystems, you know, which are I suppose intangible for a lot of the time.
Thank you. Thank you. Bahari, please go ahead.
Yeah, so a little bit thinking to this aspect that you mentioned, that you're intentionally trying to get more diverse data. I'm a little bit looking it from, let's say, I know that this is a research project, I'm completely aware of it, but if we want a little bit extend it to industry or maybe the reality, is it, as an expert, I'm asking, is it lead to extra effort or extra costs to basically get or gather or maybe make the system inclusive? I'm asking this because usually whenever we bring this kind of, let's say, inclusiveness aspect, the first thing is, oh, okay, too much money or effort. So that's what I'm saying. Is there some way that we can actually satisfy this need? And we said, no, it's an equal thing.
Yeah, I suppose there's a lot of lip service kind of around, you know, we're diverse, we're inclusive, etc. And here we kind of have to put our money where our mouth is, and we're talking about a living lab approach, and that's the opportunity to bring our industry stakeholders, to bring industry representatives, potentially government representatives, the community at large, and us as researchers together. So yes, time, effort, and money has to go against this to gather diverse perspectives. And we can't shy away from that. And I suppose that's the stakeholder engagement here is a critical part of this project. And I suppose that's why we were calling out a living lab approach. And a lot of the investment will be around that, because if we don't gather, I suppose, diverse perspectives and do diverse engagement, our solution will be, I would say, I suppose, it won't be representative and it won't achieve the project objectives, because we're pinning this on diversity and inclusive diversity. And if we don't invest in doing inclusive diversity, then we're adding to the lip service that's already out there around EDI.
Yeah, completely makes sense. I mean, unfortunately, there should be some gain in order to bring the stakeholder to the table and show like, okay, this effort and let's say money that spends, but then the result is basically make it a full multi-dimensional results. I'm still using kind of abusing this time. So I have one more maybe point. I don't know if you're aware of it, but at least in WiTaR, we are starting this exercise to look a little bit onto the different use cases, and not as a technical person, but also with the glasses of WiTaR to see it's similar example that you just mentioned. So looking at if the use case are inclusive enough or not, or I mean, I would say that the best case scenario is that we would say that they did not consider men or women. So it's a generic, which is a best case. In some of the use cases, they didn't even consider women. So there are different ranges. But we just started this exercise. So, and our hope is a little bit, maybe we can reach and summarize it and come up with a kind of a template that kind of encouraging people, if you want to design a use case, maybe you should consider this aspect. Wondering in your project, is this something similar, coming up with some kind of a template or regulations? I mean, again, I understand the dimension of the research project, but is it something that you see that at the end of the project would be the result of your project?
Yes, because I suppose fundamentally as part of this project, we're looking at a methodology, how do you bake trust into systems? And we're hoping, I suppose, through kind of human-centered design, so participatory engagement and artistic intelligence, that we can actually design that methodology which bakes in trust. So for us, then trust becomes a design outcome. So yes, and that would help us kind of shape the use case. So what do you need to do? So yes, certainly that's an objective for this project. And if there's an opportunity, to maybe to contribute our learnings from this project, or indeed take the learnings from WiTaR and use it to influence our project, we're all for it. I'm actually, I see on our audience there, I'm joined by two of my colleagues on this project, Alan McGee and Saba Suval. So they're leading out two of the 5 projects within inTRUSTED, and we would be delighted to contribute in any way we can going forward.
Perfect. Yeah, I think definitely we can use each other's learning for sure. Thanks a lot.
Thanks together for this engagement. I think this is really a good idea, Bahare. I mean, also to kind of synergize if it is possible. And for you, Susanna, that you're looking at the right stakeholders, engagement in this, and maybe WiTaR is bringing all ICT women here in this platform, typically coming from the SNSJU ecosystem. But I think, yeah, I mean, the community, and if you need our support in any of these, feel free.
Thank you.
So one more round of asking any further questions, curiosities, motivation, inspirations that you like to share, ask. Please feel free. Don't be shy.
And reach out afterwards. We'd be delighted to engage further.
Sure. Thank you for this openness and collaboration. Well, then I would say that we come to the end of the session, and last and final call for any questions. If not,
I don't have
then
questions, but I just wanted to say from a non-technical person, but still woman in the technical field, I really appreciate your presentation, and I'm really looking forward to the result of inTRUSTED, because it sounds very interesting. I mean, we already know that a lot of AI algorithms are gender bias and can be biased by race and age already in recruitment, like the LinkedIn scandal that they were excluding oldest people or younger people by reflex to propose to the best candidate and then the best role recommendation. So I'm really looking forward, because even if it was unintentional, it has huge repercussions. So I'm really looking the result, and I'm happy to see this policy in place. Yeah.
Thanks, Audrey.
Thanks.
Thank you then, Susanna, for this wonderful presentation and presenting us how inTRUSTED is going to make or contribute to this change and try to build a system keeping humans, inclusivity, ethicalness, trustworthiness as the core in its design, and how this artistic intelligence is going to explore, evolve, interpret, and shape on the experience and understand how the technology evolves in future. So with this, thank you so much for this collaboration, and I hope we will continue our exchange, and we will see you more often in our monthly meetings, and we continue the series of WiTaR lunch saloons. And thank you so much for this collaboration. And also to everyone who is present here, feel free to let us know if you have any topic that is of interest to you. We can bring more speakers to these sessions, and also feel free to volunteer yourself to be the one presenting the learnings that come from your projects and experience over the period of time. So thank you everyone for joining, and I hope we continue and we see each other soon. And yes, so Audrey has also dropped the LinkedIn channels for WiTaR. Please follow us, and we'll be happy to look and exchange from you all. Thank you everyone, and have a nice afternoon. Bye-bye.
Thank
Thanks a lot.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye.